What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Right now, if the news is to be trusted, Veldora has been tamed by Sir Rimuru, the Demon Lord. The very same Demon Lord who seeks admission to our council, am I right? Then I think the answer is clear.
The man calling for order was Count GABAN, a representative from Anglacia.
Councilor GABAN is right.
Johan continued.
As we face this threat from the east, now is no time to wage a war of words against each other. If the Demon Lord Rimuru will join the council, I am sure their military might will aid us.
Certainly, yes.
Cheers of agreement rang out. Johan smiled approvingly.
In my humble opinion, I think we should recognize Tempest as a full-fledged member.
His voice was solemn, as if gauging the reaction around him. That alone changed the atmosphere in the chamber. Even those who feared the Demon Lord as a complete unknown now recalled the very real and recognized threat from the east. Tempest was a land of monsters but also a nation that responded to common sense. The Empire, on the other hand, was a ravenous foe bent on gobbling up everything in its path. They were a human enemy, and as such, if they lost to the Empire, everyone could see that they'd be next at the dinner table. The ruling class, all of them, would undoubtedly be killed. The Empire was a massive military state, with a history of growth powered by the nations they swallowed up. They were always thorough with their enemy, and to the Western nations, they were a presence to be feared.
I think Councilor Rostia is making a valid point. A point I agree with, I should add.
I'm very glad you understand, Councilor GABAN. And I think you won't be alone in this chamber. I think it's time to take a vote on Tempest's admission first, but what do you think?
Seconded. The West needs to put up a united front before anything else.
Quite true. Now's no time for infighting.
Several representatives voiced their approval of Johan. It led to a general commotion that forced the chairman to shout for quiet once more. At the chairman's lead, the vote began. First Johan fanned everyone's fears, then he put on the pressure to conform. A very impressive performance, indeed, in the classic style of nobility. I suppose this is all part of the script, too? Even without the preamble, that took forever. Clearly Johan and GABAN were colluding on this, with a supporting cast voicing their agreement in the audience. As a non-voting attendee, HINATA could tell that much from her seat. It was all just a scripted performance, and the ending was coming up shortly, much to her relief. 8 hours had passed since the session was brought to order, and despite the regular breaks, the exhaustion was palpable. Not physical exhaustion, of course, but the mental kind, making it all the more painful to HINATA. I can't believe all the stupid questions I got asked, though. They could have just asked me to watch Rimuru to make sure he doesn't go crazy, but no. That was the main reason HINATA was there. Whether the council knew him or not, they were about to ask a demon lord to join their ranks. They just wanted to cover their asses in case he decided to get violent, and considering she, reportedly, fought him to a draw, HINATA helped the councilors feel far safer. That's basically what the nobles wanted, although they asked her in the most roundabout way possible. The talk about an empire on the move was just an idle threat as well. Those military maneuvers probably were happening, but they were just an empty show of force. If they were really about to invade the West, they had mountains of obstacles to deal with first, the forest of Jura and the armed nation of Dwargon, to name but two. And maybe things would have been different before Tempest and Dwargon forged an alliance, but now, the Empire didn't have much to work with. They really should have made their move before Rimuru became a demon lord. Then Veldora wouldn't be back in the picture, and the Empire really could have had a chance at world domination. Now the Empire was pinned down, too afraid of a vengeful, unmuzzled Veldora to act. They were too careful for their own good back when there was no sign of Veldora, and now they probably knew full well the golden opportunity they missed. Rimuru and Gazel were still on the lookout for them, of course, but the way HINATA saw it, any move the Empire could make was nothing for anyone to worry about. She was pretty sure Johan and GABAN agreed with her on that point. Here they were, keeping the smaller nations' eyes fixated on outside threats while they firmed up their own footing. It was so noble-like of them. HINATA had had enough of it long ago. And after the ballots were tabulated, the ayes had it, the majority of the counted had voted to admit Tempest.
The Jura Tempest Federation is now officially our ally. We will hereby send a formal invitation to the Jura Tempest Federation, and after confirming the intentions of their leader, the Demon Lord Rimuru, to join the council. We will reconvene to enact the relevant procedures. Adjourned.
With the chairman's stentorian declaration, the meeting drew to a close. All in all, it was enough to make HINATA swear off dealing with the nobility again. The exhausting council session was over, and HINATA was on her way back to the church. But her suffering wasn't over yet.
HINATA, could I have a moment of your time?
She was stopped by a young man guarded by a posse of nearly 10 bodyguards. He had shiny blonde hair and a refreshing smile, a handsome man, although not much HINATA's type. After 8 hours of that torture session, her tolerance for anything else today was gone. She just wanted to get home, and the smile of a man she had no interest in was worthless to her. Unfortunately, the man's social position posed some difficulties for HINATA's escape. This was ELRICK, the first prince of Anglacia, where the council's headquarters was located. Being rude to him could trigger an international incident, so HINATA was in no position to ignore him.
Yes, can I help you?
She summoned as much social courtesy as she could muster for Prince ELRICK. He smugly smiled back at her.
Well, HINATA, I wanted to ask you a favor.
ELRICK did not know HINATA well enough to address her this casually. Given her position, she knew his name and face, but little else. This was their first conversation, and ELRICK's overfamiliarity annoyed her.
And what would that be?
She asked as they moved over to a reception room.
I'm thinking about testing the Demon Lord Rimuru at the next council meeting. Only the upper echelons are aware of the news as of yet, but if a Demon Lord is joining the council, I think that would greatly unnerve many of our people. We will need this Demon Lord to live up to his duties, and we need to see whether he will deign to listen to us. That's where you come in.
He flashed her another gleaming smile. HINATA wanted to jump out a window.
How do I come in?
She asked, dying for him to get to the point. ELRICK, perhaps expecting HINATA to be a bit more cooperative, seemed daunted by her lack of interest. Still, he tried to look unaffected as he continued.
Well, let me explain. I describe it as a test, but the one in question is still a Demon Lord. If he decides to cause a scene, we'll all be in trouble. So I'd like to ask you to provide security duties for us.
As prince, ELRICK no doubt expected the entire world to serve him at all times. He knew he had good looks, and he was convinced no woman could ever turn him down. HINATA, he was sure, would be no different. Even his bodyguards looked on like this was common knowledge. But HINATA had her doubts. For one thing, she had every right to turn him down. Did he think I'd say yes with that attitude?
Why, if I may ask?
Why? Because I know you are a strong woman, the most powerful leader of the Paladins, confidant to the Luminian god, the chief knight of the Imperial Guard itself. Among the Western nations, you truly have no equal, and I even hear that you fought the Demon Lord Rimuru to a draw. With your support, I'm sure we can reveal the true nature of this Demon Lord.
His sheer arrogance was clear for HINATA to see as he heaped extensive praise upon her. What is he talking about? Rimuru was generally kind to her, but he was a true blue Demon Lord. Deliberately trying to rile him was beyond stupid. And that fought to the draw thing was a rumor they deliberately spread around. She couldn't beat him at all. If Rimuru ever got really angry, it'd take a fellow Demon Lord like Luminous to stop him.
I think that idea may be ill-advised. He is truly a powerful Demon Lord. If we were to fight again, there is no guarantee I could beat him.
Oh, come now. No need for modesty. Just because you're talking to me doesn't mean you have to act like a meek, gentle woman.
The smile was now gone from HINATA's face. ELRICK's self-absorbed protest deeply peeved her. The oblivious prince was interrupted by one of his bodyguards stepping in. This large, important-looking man was Reiner, head general of Anglacia's Royal Knight Corps, and Reiner was about to rankle HINATA even further.
Lady HINATA, I can understand if you're smitten with Prince ELRICK, but now is no time for such dalliances. There's no need to worry about matters if I'm around, but with your additional muscle, we will have that much extra insurance. So if you could.
The chiding tone to his voice robbed HINATA of any desire to hear the rest.
I'm afraid I cannot. The Western Holy Church and the Holy Empire of Lubelius have signed a non-aggression pact with Tempest. And a word of warning as well. Please refrain from angering the Demon Lord Rimuru.
Pardon me?
Are you ordering me around?
The bodyguard, along with ELRICK, seemed flummoxed by the idea that she'd actually say no to them. HINATA had absolutely no intention of playing along. If this was an official request made through the proper channels, not even HINATA would have had the right to refuse. If the council was making the request themselves, after all, it'd only be logical to call for an anti-monster specialist like her. Given the council's vital role in world affairs, there could very well have been an official request along those lines, once it passed through the local Western Holy Church post. And considering their future relationship with the Western nations, HINATA wouldn't have had the final right to turn that down. What a pain it would have been, though. Still, if that happened, there would have been a lot of intricate conditions to decide on, and given how their non-aggression pact forbade clearly hostile acts, HINATA probably could have found a way out of it. ELRICK and his goons must have tried approaching her directly to skip all that. And now they were paying for it.
You will regret this, Lady HINATA. Do you wish to make an enemy out of Sir Reiner, head general of the Inglacia Royal Knight Corps?
Exactly. The human race cannot allow a demon lord to do whatever he wants among us. Don't tell me the Western Holy Church is fine with someone like him going on a rampage inside the council.
The other bodyguards were starting to whine at her, too, but that actually relieved HINATA. From them, she could tell this was all just a few people stepping way out of line.
Unfortunately for you, I'm afraid the Demon Lord Rimuru enjoys my full trust. Now if you'll excuse me.
So she left, thanking her lucky stars that this entourage lacked intelligence. In her eyes, she had exhibited the barest minimum of decorum needed, so this shouldn't become any sort of diplomatic controversy. Making this unscheduled approach to a council invitee was a much ruder thing to do anyway. Even if a prince was involved, HINATA handled it passably well, if not exactly with perfect poise. But, they're not really going to try to anger Rimuru, are they? The anxiety bounced around her mind. The moment she swore off nobles forever, this had to happen. Well, I turned down any involvement in it. Hopefully, cooler heads will prevail among them. If you wanted to take on a demon lord, you'd better have had the national army backing you up.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to IceB, Scratch Good 3, Shlok Tiwari, Hexalus Lux, Night Gazer, Pickle Rick, Asterius, Ecstatic, Star Benedith, and last but not the least, shoutout to Rex Universe. I'll see you guys in the next video.